If you've been on social media recently and viewed anything remotely related to Star Wars, then you've probably seen countless people begging for Battlefront 3. And what started as a small ray of hope has now turned into a movement bigger than any one of us, with comment sections full of Battlefront 3 all-time player peaks as well as massive YouTubers returning to the game, gives everyone hope that Battlefront 3 might actually be something that can happen around the corner at some point in the future. And today I want to lean into that little bit of hope and talk about what would happen if Battlefront 3 actually comes out. What would happen? What are the likelihoods of that actually happening? Mostly from a LEGO standpoint, as I am a LEGO YouTuber. But make sure to leave a like on this video if you're excited and comment Battlefront 3 down below, because I'll make a deal with everyone watching this video. Out of one person that comments Battlefront 3, if the game comes out in the next 3 years, then I will buy one person that comments Battlefront 3, Battlefront 3. So drop a comment and like the video, and let's get right on into this. Now, starting off with the actual likelihood of Battlefront 3, obviously, this is something that is in the very, very early stages of like an actual thing happening, something that started off as someone making a YouTube video and then everyone rallying behind that, and more. You go into the comment sections of anything related to Star Wars, even like going on like the Xbox page, like all of the main like game pages, you'll see the comments, especially EA, just flooded with Battlefront 3. So something with this much rally behind it and seeing that the actual game is reaching a peak players on Steam, not peak, but it is kind of rivaling the peak 5 years later, which is crazy after no updates as support has been cut from Battlefront 2, is something that's really cool to see and is really showing that Battlefront 3 would be a game that would actually be played by many people. It's something in high demand. So if we can keep showing our support, keep commenting Battlefront 3 on everything that you see, as well as, playing the game, supporting what could actually happen, then I do think that Battlefront 3 is something that we could see in the future and something that becomes more and more likely each day that passes. That being said, even if by some miracle Battlefront 3 gets greenlit, it would take a long time to develop a game like Battlefront 3 to meet everyone's expectations. So even if that got greenlit tomorrow, we probably wouldn't see the game for years to come, especially when looking at some of our other Star Wars games that are in development, that have been in development for years and years and years. Star Wars Eclipse, the remake of the Knights of the Old Republic, stuff like that. It would be a long time until we see it, but just to, humor this video idea and also give in to the hope of actually getting a Battlefront 3 is why I'm making this video. So I want to talk about what LEGO would do if we ended up getting Battlefront 3. Now, it's no secret that LEGO has had a pretty shaky past when it comes to Star Wars games. The first one that I can think of is the Rogue Shadow coming out in relation to The Force Unleashed. That set being amazing on its own, personally, because I'm a huge fan of The Force Unleashed, but being a set that at the time it was out didn't sell too great, especially because it was coming out in a time that was a bit shaky for LEGO Star Wars in general. But that leads us to believe what would happen if we got some more sets today based off of video games. But then also, first point I want to make is 2014, hailed as one of the golden eras for LEGO Star Wars. We got a ton of sets based off of one game in particular, being Star Wars The Old Republic, which was pretty massive at the time, especially, being a game kind of similar to World of Warcraft and stuff like that, being a very fun game, and also getting some amazing sets. I have some just up on that shelf. I have the Sith Fury class Interceptor with the Darth Malgus, and I have a Darth Revan coming in the mail. I'm a big fan. I love those characters. I love the LEGO adaptations. I think we're done amazingly. And something like that in the future, if LEGO was to make more sets, would be great. However, I would argue that those are the only game-related sets that we've gotten that kind of coexist with any sort of like golden age or like a good kind of healthy relation to the game and to the actual LEGO set. Coming to some of our more recent games, looking at probably one of the biggest games in recent Star Wars history with Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, something that fans have wanted sets for so long, getting a Mantis, some of those amazing characters, and we did. We got one set. It's not a build, it's not a Mantis or like a cool ship like that. It is a buildable BD-1. Not that that's a bad thing. I think that set is very cool, and you're actually getting the Jedi Fallen Order branding as well as the BD-1 minifigure, but it's something, it's not what all of the fans wanted. Buildable droids aren't for everyone, and it felt kind of like getting the short end of the stick for such a massive game for Star Wars. And then the LEGO kind of adaptation that we get is just the BD-1. Now, we did also get the anniversary minifigure in that Cal Kestis from the Star Destroyer, which was great, but that kind of just seals the deal. Anniversary minifigures are supposed to be things that we'd never get otherwise, so LEGO's kind of just telling us that we're never going to get anything related to one of those Star Wars games like the Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor, which is very unfortunate, because I think there were some great ideas, great possibilities that we're just not going to see, because if we're not going to get a Cal Kestis in them, we're probably not going to get the sets at all. But the closest comparison to some sets for a potential Battlefront 3, it would be what we got for Battlefront 2. And we actually got 4 sets, well, technically 3. The 4th one wasn't really branded as a Battlefront themed set, but we had the Inferno Squadron Battle Pack, we had the Rebel Alliance Battle Pack, as well as the Imperial Battle Pack with all of the really cool, great actual stormtroopers. Some of my favorite stormtroopers with that like battle scarred armor. I think those were sick. And then the 4th unbranded one was the 501st Specialist Battle Pack. But I think it's pretty apparent that that is based off of Battlefront 2 because you have the Specialist, you have the Heavies, you have the Officer. So I think that that's pretty apparent. It just isn't actually like written in anywhere that is based off of Battlefront 2. But it's something that is pretty obviously based off of Battlefront 2. But that does give me hope if we got a Battlefront 3 that we would actually be seeing Lego sets for it, because something that I didn't mention about Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, of why Lego doesn't make sets on it, is their argument, the main argument that is put against that is that they are for a more mature audience versus, you know, what Lego is trying to market to. And although I have so many counter arguments to that, there's the big whole 18 plus Lego sets thing, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about Battlefront 3, but because Battlefront 3 would be presumably a E for everyone rated game or a T rated game, which I think Jedi Survivor is rated T if I'm not mistaken. But if it is an E for everyone or something like that, we can definitely expect to see some Lego sets come out around it. And that does give me to believe what Lego sets would we see. Now, the only sets that we saw for Battlefront 2 were battle packs. We got 4 of them. So I think that would lead us to believe that we'd probably end up getting battle packs for the Battlefront 3, maybe just to test the water. And I feel like other sets would kind of all be up to decision based off of what is actually in the game. But assuming that Battlefront 3 is just going to be like amped up Battlefront 2, having all of the stuff that people wanted as well as the new content that we haven't seen yet, I think there's definitely a lot of really cool ideas. Now, if you know me, you know I love the Wolfpack, and I think getting a Wolfpack themed battle pack would have been sick. Now, ideally it would just be normally themed, but if it could be based off of Battlefront 2, that would also be super sick. Now, with Battlefront, you have all of your different classes, and because Battlefront, you know, spans the eras of not just the Clone Wars, the prequels, the original trilogy, but even the sequels, it has everything. So it kind of means all doors are open to get anything from anything that the game covers. But there's also your different classes, and then in all of the different classes for every different sub-theme, you have the skins for your different like characters. So for example, if you're going to the Republic era, to the clones, and then to your different clone classes, let's say you go Assault, and then you have all of the different skins, which are, you know, in that case, the legions, the different legions for the clones. So basically what I'm trying to get at, I know I kind of just went off on a rant, is that there are endless possibilities for stuff to get. Battle packs of endless factions that we wouldn't otherwise be able to see because they don't necessarily appear prevalently in any other Star Wars media, but if they are mainly featured in the game, then that would then, you know, give Lego a reason to make it, more of a reason to make it. And then another thing that we have to look at, other than, you know, just getting stuff from the game, is the other part of the game that would be the campaign. We could assume, you know, based off of our previous Battlefronts, that this would have a unique campaign. Now, whether that's related to some sort of already existing character, or if they're going to do something like they did with Battlefront 2, making up an entirely different storyline, which I thought the Battlefront 2 campaign was amazing. I really enjoyed it, which is why I do really like that Inferno Squadron battle pack. I know that got a ton of hate as it's named characters in a battle pack, but I do think that that one was very cool, and I'm happy that that is one that I own. But I do think that if Lego does end up making sets for a Battlefront 3, they would start off with battle packs and then move their way up to bigger sets. Now, unfortunately, we never got any of those bigger sets for Battlefront 2. Not to say that that's something 100% wouldn't happen, but I would like 99% sure we're not going to be getting any more Battlefront 2 related sets in the future, especially if Battlefront 3 comes out. But we'll have to see about that. But I do think that there are tons of opportunities for bigger sets. Personally, I'm a huge fan of Theed, Naboo, and I think, you know, Theed being one of the core maps for Battlefront 2, and just being such a beautiful place in like in the movies, in the game, and also I think that would translate into a Lego set very, very well, and I think that is something that would make a great set. But we'd have to wait. You know, Battlefront 3 would have a bunch of different maps. You know, they would probably hold some that we had in the previous Battlefronts as well as having new ones that we have not seen yet. So the possibility for sets is endless, and it really just comes down to if we get a Battlefront 3, I full-heartedly believe that we would get sets coming out alongside of it, especially if all of the hype, if you have the whole kind of Star Wars fandom, Battlefront fandom, commenting on every single post where to the point where you're scrolling and all you see is Battlefront 3, nothing related to the actual post, pretty obvious that fans want it, and that makes me believe that it's something that could very much happen. So make sure, if you guys want Battlefront 3, you gotta join the cause. You gotta get to work. You know, you see a video, maybe related to Star Wars, maybe related to some sort of game development, or just the games in general, leave a comment. Battlefront 3, if you're thinking about it, put it down there, and let's get a chain, a massive chain. How many people can we get to comment Battlefront 3 under this video? But make sure to leave a like if you're excited, if you want to see Battlefront 3 in the future, and let me know down below in the comments what sets you'd want to see coinciding with Battlefront 3 if that's something that ends up coming out. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe. Drew is signing out.